Tumekuwa tukijoke mambo ya Warufaga, but Warufaga inatoa daktari amesoma akahitimu.
And then I went to 𝐉𝐴𝐬, graduated as an RN at age 23. Then I was taken to head a HIV program with a president emergency plan for AIDS relief under President Bush.
So it means then you're paid in dollars?
Yes, I was being paid in dollars.
Eish! Hey. Dwari horu.
I was touching dollars in Kenya. Because I was just down, no interest in doing anything. I was just crying. And then I had prolonged grief. Nobody helped us, grieve the loss of our parents. Because after the burial, everybody left. I was about 18 when my mom passed, and my dad passed when I was 16. But I knew I was depressed for over 10 years. Now, this is the funny part of my suicide plan. I had all the pills prepared, and I was ready to take them, but I had to have a conversation with God. How I came to overcome it is when I met my husband. Today, I can say if I knew what I know today, maybe I would have preferred to stay in Kenya.
Yeah. Abado. Lakini na record. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is a platform where we educate you, we highlight, we talk about Kenyans here doing extraordinary things. And today is no difference because here we have a doctor. I'm telling you, nasi ile doctor ya kubandika ile daktari ni doctor amesoma akahitimu. Hey, Kiswahili mufti. So today we were celebrating her birthday. So it's 2 in 1. She's 50. You can't even tell. So atakuwa anajiintroduce. Tumekuwa tukijoke mambo ya Warufaga, but Warufaga inatoa daktari. So, without any further ado, I'm going to introduce to us Dr. Beatrice. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
How do you feel at 50?
I feel accomplished, as my son said, but I should not say I feel old, I should say I feel accomplished, and more so I feel blessed for the Lord enabling me to come this far. I know there are many who are born with me. They didn't get this far. The Lord has preserved me in health, in life, in love, in laughter, and I appreciate God for that.
Wow, that's fantastic. You know, wamesema you are the master for arranging things silently. Leo umepata pwaguzi. Umeshikwa.
Kabisa. I never thought that anybody would ever pull this on me. Yeah. I have always done this. I've taken a lot of pride in it, but I didn't have a clue at all that this was happening. So kudos everybody who was participating in this. This was great. Yeah. They got me good.
That's amazing. Talking of your birthday, kuna mahali ulizaliwa, kuna mahali uligrow. Where were you born, by the way? Because kuna watu wanaweza kuona kuwatch up and they get inspired.
Sasa wewe ngeri, unajua umekuwa ukiingilia Warufaga sana. I'm a product of Warufaga.
Ile ya for real.
Kabisa, like the real one. Actually, Warufaga was our main town. So I come from a village called Aremi, Farmer Society. Yeah, that's where I was born, among other 5 siblings. And I went to primary school there called Aremi Primary School. Then I went to 𝐉𝐴𝐬𝐧 High School. And then I went to 𝐉𝐴𝐬𝐺. I came from 𝐉𝐴𝐬𝐺, met the man of my dreams, married the best man living. And then here we are.
So did you work already in Kenya or you just moved to the US? How did that opportunity happen?
So I graduated as an RN at age 23. I was blessed.
In Kenya?
Yes.
Oh, in Kenya? There's a RN in Kenya?
Yes, it's called Kenya Registered Community Health Nurses. It was a more newer program. So where we do a more diploma course, higher diploma course in nursing.
That's in KMTC?
Yes, but I went to 𝐉𝐴𝐬𝐺. And then so immediately I worked a little bit. I think one year I found this, came from college. I met this guy 1 year, we were wedding in church. And then I worked in Kijabi. So I was in Kijabi Hospital for about 4 years. Then I was taken to head a HIV program with a president emergency plan for AIDS relief under President Bush. So I started some HIV programs there that I worked for a couple years, and I was taken international. I helped in a couple countries before moving to the US in 2009. So I had worked as an RN in Kenya in different capacities for 10 years before I came to the US.
You told me that the President Bush, did I hear correct?
Yes, we were working. Actually, the person who was leading the CDC, Dr. Redfield, during the COVID time, that was our boss when we were doing about HIV in Africa. So it was a plan for the emergency, for American government to help the poor countries with HIV care. So they were looking for expatriates, and I was working with University of Maryland, but based in Kenya as an expatriate, leading in community work, setting up clinics for HIV in a lot of mission hospitals, almost all in Kenya. Other than Northeastern, I've traveled every other single part of Kenya. And then I helped in Tanzania, Uganda, Malawi, Zambia, and Rwanda.
So it means then you were paid in dollars.
Yes, I was being paid in dollars.
Esh! Hey. Dwari horu.
I was touching dollars in Kenya for about 6 years.
Wow. Was that connection or it just happened for your own, you deserved it?
Do you know favor? Favor from God.
Yeah.
Remember, I only had a diploma in nursing, but God had given me this heart of service. So, background a little bit, my husband is a Bible teacher, a good Bible teacher, and he used to go to some communities to go teach in churches. But then I was just there being a good, smiling wife. And then he was like, "You've been following me for such a long time. You need to tell him and something." I'm like, "What?" By the way, you may not believe this, but I'm very much introverted. I become extroverted for the purpose of meeting the need that I'm supposed to meet. So he kind of pushed me out to speak, and I was like, "What should I tell them? I'm not very good in teaching the Bible." And he said, "You're a health professional. You can tell them about good hygiene, brushing their teeth, because you are going to Kenagofu.
Yeah.
And you may just come from the shamba to the ministry, and the room is not feeling so good."
It's not sanctified.
So we did start with like basic health issues, like brushing your teeth, taking a nice shower, and then I started talking about HIV because I was working in the maternity unit at that point, and there was a lot of children that were being born from HIV positive mothers, and I had a passion of preventing this from happening. So I started teaching HIV care and prevention, even without being told by anybody. It was a passion. And so from that, when the program was dispersed in Kenya and one of the hospitals was Kijabi, so they were given so much money, and then this doctor comes, and his name is Dr. Fielder, came and asking, "Who is going to help us with all these needs that the the US government is wanting us to do?" And she said, "There's one girl who's been doing volunteer work teaching in the community, and I think she can do this." And so they picked me, and I went home. I told my husband, "This is what I've been told. The hospital has been awarded 17 million Kenya shillings, but you're supposed to bring 1,000 patients, put them on care, and then have over 50% of them on ARVs, and then we are supposed to attain above 90% rate of suppression in terms of HIV virus is concerned." And I'm like, "How do we even do this?" Because that time there was a lot of stigma around HIV. So nobody wants to come out and say, "Have HIV," leave alone coming to get the care. Because the care encompassed you joining a support group, speaking positive about your effects, and coming out positive that I'm HIV positive. So my husband tells me, "Don't worry, we're going to do this." I had been given a good amount of money as pay, but I have a very big responsibility. So he says, "We're going to talk to the Pastors Association of Limuru." And then we started, because the church was the one that was stigmatizing people a lot. So we went and talked to the pastors, and I had a week of training them about the HIV and the impact and what happens to the people and the church and the community. And they started now becoming the agent of change and calling people to come and receive the care. They started referring patients until we were like, "Stop referring, we cannot handle this anymore." So there was an enormous growth from that. And so we achieved our numbers, we attained our suppression rates, and then the next thing it was like, "This organization wants to hire me, this one." It was like binding. And so when I tell you it's favor, it was just favor. Yes.
That's amazing. Let's talk a little bit about the journey to America. Now, I know because you worked with Americans, and even working with under Bush, indirectly is a huge thing. So how did it happen now to come to America?
That is a very complex situation I found myself in. So, way before starting to work for the HIV program, there was already agencies that were bringing nurses over from African countries to come and work here. And so I was under one of those organizations. That was in 2001 when I just had my first baby. And so I did the whole process. I did my NCLEX. Um, but again, at that point, we had gotten our second baby and was not in the first cohort that in our application. So we had to add him into the application. So what happens after we add him there, it took the next 4 years before our papers could be processed. Now, in these 4 years is when I get this big contract to work with the University of Maryland. So I already supposed to come to Arizona and work as an RN, but I already get another job here. But the paper was just stuck. For some reason, I say it's the favor of God and God's provision. And so for those 4 years, we were able to get ladies start going and start imeharagana. And start working on our process to move over here. Then they say they cannot trace my papers and everything has been processed. So apparently they wanted us to hire a lawyer to follow up on our papers. How do you hire a lawyer in America when you're in Kenya? We said, potelea mbali, we're doing good. At that time we were living large and good and we were blessed. Then after I do all the work that I'm supposed to do, train people, have enough people on the ground, one night in a November, like a Friday, something tells me just check your email, and I'm like, it's a Friday night. The next thing I see, you are supposed to appear in the American consulate in 2 weeks' time. Da, 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 da. We're like, okay. So talk about miracles. When God is in your case, He makes everything perfect in its own time. So we process our papers. In 2009, we are in America. So the process was, at that point, the University of Maryland wanted to buy us out of that contract. And so we agreed and we came to North Carolina to my sister to rest a little bit. When we are there, the hiring was frozen in the university. So we had just to, what do you call it, endorse my license in North Carolina. And we settled in North Carolina for 7 years. Then we moved over to Washington.
Washington, the land of plenty.
The land of plenty.
Now, I know there's so many challenges being in a new country, America. Was it like what you saw in TV? Do you like wish to have remained back in Kenya? Ilikuwaje?
Today, I can say if I knew what I know today, maybe I would have preferred to stay in Kenya.
Yeah.
But I don't regret. Nevertheless, all I knew from the TV is fake, is scripted. It's not real. Because what you see Hollywood stuff, not the actual life. It was such a like, we have homeless people in America? Like how? I could not fathom. And then when I came to North Carolina, it is more rural than up country. So I kept telling my husband, I think I've not yet gotten to America, the one that was in my mind, until I was like, okay, America is in this world and people are the same people. So it took a little bit of some time to take the real versus the ideal that I had in my mind. Yes.
Wow. And now, what pushed you to now start the new journey of becoming a doctor?
So it goes way back. When I was in school, because I was very smart when I was young, my mom used to. By the way, we were very poor, like an example of poverty. That's what we were. And so my mom used to tell me, I'm so smart. She would want me to become a doctor, but that was a far-fetched dream. There was no way in the situation. That got at the back of my mind. And she used to tell me, with God, nothing is impossible. And just so to go back, my mom was very stern Christian and used to take us to church by fire, by force. She would tell us, I'm going to drag you and drop you at the door of heaven. Tell Peter to take care of you, but I have to make sure that you get there. So I knew the Lord, and I knew the Lord was going to take me through. And my mom used to tell me, you can achieve whatever you want when you trust in the Lord. And so when we came to America, when I was working with the HIV program, I used to sit in the room with doctors, professors. I mean, the the kind of Dr. Redfield. So you can imagine you having a conversation with him and all you have is a diploma. And then there were some people, I'm not going to go to that area, but they would just look down on us, despite the fact that we were in our own country in Kenya, and education level, the presentation, the way we are, the culture. And I kept thinking, there's a lot that I can offer, but I'm only being looked down because I don't have the papers. So my initial motivation to go back to school was initially to prove that we can also get there. But with maturity and time, I figured out I'm making a better version of myself, that I can be more useful and have more impact to the people that I'm serving. And so when I came to the US, we were so much focused that I moved to the US because I wanted to attain education. I felt in Kenya I wouldn't really be able to get it. So I came in, after 1 year, I got to a BSN program. 2 years I finished. I took a break for 1 year, then I went back. I did my master's in nursing education. So I taught a little bit in the university. Then I finished on my PhD in counseling, Christian counseling, which I was doing specifically for just helping the community and the people around me and serving in the ministry. And then one time, this is the most interesting story. I was working as a counselor helping people who are taking mental health medications, but in a primary care setting. And there's this one patient who came and was sent to me for counseling. They had had an argument with the doctor about what medication she should get. And then, so she was sent to me. She knew what she wanted, but the doctor thought otherwise. So she came to me for counseling, and I'm telling, the doctor called me into the office and said, I'm talking to this person, and this person says this, but I think they should be getting this. I think this is a better option because of 1, 2, 3, 4. And so when she came to my office, she's like, what are you doing here? And I looked at her and I'm wondering, I think you're actually unwell. This is a mental health clinic, and you ask me what am I doing here. She told me you're lost. I said, I'm lost? What do you mean I'm lost? She's like, you're sitting here doing what you know should be done, but somebody else is taking the credit and getting paid for that. Yeah. You should take yourself to school, get that certification, come and prescribe this medication and get paid for it. I was like, I tried, I couldn't. She was like, right now, I'm going to call this professor. I know this professor somewhere in this school that is here in Tacoma. I said, there's no university in Tacoma. She told me it's right here, about 19 minutes from the clinic we were in. And lo and behold, I ended up in PLU. And I applied in February. In May, I was in school. And that was my journey. And now here I am. And I thank God for it.
Wow, that's amazing. Do you feel like sometimes you get discrimination because of your where you come from, being a doctor, being in that caliber?
Yeah, two things. I have come across people who really appreciate what I do. And one thing, I'm very passionate with what I do. When I go to helping people, I don't care where they come from, how they look, or who they are. I help them to the capacity that I'm able to help them. There's always that notion that where you come from, and they'll tell you, maybe I don't understand your English, you have an accent. And then they'll be like, oh, I feel better when they come back and they're like, I think you know what you're doing, without saying exactly that in words. So there's a lot of faces in that. But one thing I believe is that if you believe in yourself, you should not be intimidated. And always what I say is that give the best out of you. Whatever you do it with all the passion. Give your best. And the other thing that I know that helps me overlook all these things, two things. One thing, I'm a believer. I know I'm accountable to God. How I treat any one of those human beings, because regardless whether they are homeless, whether they are what, God has a purpose with them. So to God, me and that person, we are the same. Only that I have accepted the grace of God in my life. So I know I'm accountable to God. It's not to my boss, not to the person who pays me, but I'm accountable because of that one life. So they may come and cast me out, which they have done. But I'm like, I'm here to help you. I'm not here to pull you down. And if again, when you show them love, when they come because they despise in mental health, a lot of them are looked down because there's a lot of history in terms of drug abuse, substance use, homelessness, and they tend to be looked down by the community. Now, when you receive them with love and appreciate them as human beings, regardless their situation, then there is a higher acceptance. Nevertheless, there are those who will always look at you because you have an accent and you have a color and you talk differently. They're still not. You will not miss that part of the population. But when you give them the love, the unconditional love, that makes the whole difference.
Last but not least, you talk a lot about mental health, and there's a point here in a conversation I heard you saying that you were almost trying to take your life. How did you overcome that? Because a lot of young people are depressed in America, land of the plenty, but they're still depressed. They're still in chains. Tell us a little bit about how you overcome, how they can overcome, probably from your testimony.
So my testimony goes back. I said my parents passed when we were young, and I was about 18 when my mom passed, and my dad passed when I was 16. And so when we were left, because I'm the third born, but the two elder sisters are way older than me, and they were already married. So I was technically the firstborn among the remaining four siblings, and the others were way younger than me. And now we have been left in the place that we don't have a father, we don't have a mother, we have to fend for ourselves. I had just cleared high school. I don't know whether I have a life, I don't know what's going to happen to me. And I was trying all I can with the real mind that I had and thinking how I can make life look better. But I had prayed for such a long time and telling God, I want to see a miracle. The God of my mother, just come and do something. Show me a way. Make a way for us. And I got just depressed. And I did not know because in the village in Warufaga,
You will not know.
you will not know that this thing called depression, I came to know it when I went to college. I was like, oh, that is what I was having, because I was just down, no interest in doing anything. I was just crying, and then I had prolonged grief. Nobody helped us, grieve the loss of our parents, because after the burial, everybody left. And so you are left with the reality. And so at that point, two things: you are so helpless and hopeless and seeing only doom. Number two, the devil takes advantage of that vulnerability, and the only thing your mind thinks is about exit. Now, the only way your mind can exit is for it to cease to live. And the only way to cease to live is through death. Now, this is the funny part of my suicide plan. I had all the pills prepared and I was ready to take them, but I had to have a conversation with God. And I said, God, sit here, because I don't know where you are, and if you just decided not to listen to me. Now, this is the thing. I'm not dying to go to hell. And I said, God, you have to get this right. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to hell. They say when you kill yourself, you go to hell, not me, because you came and took my mother, you took my father, you left us without parents. I've been calling you, you're not answering me, so let me come, we talk. So in my mind, I was going to talk to God. I was not committing suicide. Now, the whole suicide perspective came after I realized, oh my God. And God hears, because at that point a neighbor came and called me when I was already taken half cup of the pills, and I was like, you should never tell this to anybody. Anyway, that God helped me that too. Now that awakening, that what I was just about to do, I would have died. Yes, I would have gone seen God. I don't know what would have happened, but what would happen to our siblings, my sisters, my brother? What would be of them? Then I called the three friends and I told them, let's pray. 3 days fasting and tell God specifically if there is anything He ever plans to do with my life, to do it now, because I don't know what will happen. And God hears. That was, I told them on a Sunday. We started praying on a Monday. Monday evening, I was brought like, what do you call it, admission to go to college. I never applied to any college. My cousin who was connected, I got a letter to go to KMTC, and at the second phase of my life started there. Now, I went to college. I would wake up every night at 2 a.m. crying for years. I was depressed for over 10 years, and part of it was grief. Now, how I came to overcome it is when I met my husband, a powerful, great man, sent for my salvation by God. He is a very good listener. And I had a lot of bitterness and a lot of anger at my mom for agreeing to die, at God for taking my parents, at everybody around me for being okay when I'm not okay. I had a lot of bitterness. And so he started talking to me about forgiveness, about releasing, about letting God, about hope. And it's only my husband that gave me therapy. Now I know it is therapy. So I never saw any therapist, I never saw any doctor, I never took any medication. But I knew I was depressed for over 10 years. Now, what I do today, I have a passion of telling people this can lead you to depression. And we don't have to go the route that I went. We can talk about it. We can do something about it. So that is my passion.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna sadly we're gonna bring this to an end because we are actually there are a lot of guys waiting to clean this church, but this is their church, by the way, and this is where they fellowship, Kingdom Tabernacle. Yeah. So please, if you don't have a church, please also make sure you visit them here in where is this?
This is in Spanaway.
Yeah, in Spanaway. Unaona kizungu hapo inabadilika, si Spanaway. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we will bring her also now to talk about mental issues because it's affecting young people hapa. Watu wengi wanajua hapa, especially from our country. So it's good to look at our people as well. So thank you so much, and thank you so much for just accepting our call. God bless you.
Thank you so much. And for all those who surprised me with gifts and love, thank you so much.
Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Mkenya Marekani, the platform where you need to be. God bless you.